Hey, how's it going? I'm Dan Fradenburgh, and this is Chess with Investors, where I play a live game of chess with real estate investors like Mike Zlotnik. Did I murder your name there, Zlotnik? Is that not bad?
No, that's pretty good.
Sweet, awesome. And how are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you having me on the show.
Right, exactly. Now, I'm really quite clear on how I expect this particular match to go. If you're in the chat, you can see the challenge link in there, and it should start immediately after you're in there in your browser. But let me give you, yes, you in the audience, some background on what's going on. So, one thing that's funny about the internet and social media and all that kind of stuff is you have to do something a little bit different to stand out. And I'm sure Mike is just as passionate as I am about being involved in some sort of real estate deal and working out those different elements of that and working with more investors and whatnot. But you have to do something to stand out. And I also think that you learn a lot about a person when you play chess. But as I was saying earlier, I'm pretty clear how this is going to go because Mike's rating is far higher than mine. But Mike, before we get on and on about that, do you want to talk about you want to introduce yourself or your real estate side of things? Where do you want to take it?
Sure. Thanks, Dan. So chess, yeah, I grew up playing chess in the former USSR, Republic of Moldova, and came to the States in '89, and it was still Soviet Union. It was that long ago. Settled upstate New York, Rochester, New York. Played some chess in Rochester, and while I was in college, but sort of I don't want to say stopped, but more of uh, found other things to do in essence. But I've always kept up as a chess as a chess player. It's always a passion. It's a life journey. It's not a you go through sprints. But real estate. So long story short, went to Binghamton, New York. After Binghamton, New York, degree in mathematics. Went to computer science. To make long story short, and spent almost 15 years in technology career. Discovered real estate in 2000 as a passive investor. So technology career, successful career, really enjoyed technology, but discovered real estate passively in 2000. I live in New York City, Brooklyn, New York, and been investing here.
Most reliable. There we go. All right, and we're started. Okay, and I'm white, and I've been way less confident with my white performance recently, but I do like the fact that let's go ahead and try this. But
Yeah, that's a good line. So I'll continue with real estate adventure because this is so again for many of us who have had a career in something. So for me, it was computer science, mathematics, technology, IT. I really discovered real estate passively investing in New York City by buying apartments here and some and a multifamily house years back. And my observation was you can build wealth passively in real estate. You can do whatever else you do, whatever else career you want to have.
mhm.
And so that was my basic observation. I bought my first apartment in 2000 and kept buying passively. And I thought it was great. So continued my technology career. In 2009, the timing was right. And I switched into real estate full time. And started by my really good friend, was also technology, but he started original Tempo Funding, and he didn't want to run the business. He kind of started it. At a time, we had 2008 crisis, and a lot of properties went through short sales. So the way Tempo Funding started, it started to fund short sale flips, and after 2008 crisis, the opportunities were immense. You could pick up a house, not New York City. I'm talking about California, Southern California. Talking about Florida, Phoenix, many parts of the country, except for New York City.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
You could
that's
pick it up at a steep discount, and folks were in need of financing for short sale flips. They would go buy a house for half a million. The house used to be worth, let's call it 800,000, 900,000, and they can pick it up for half a million and flip it immediately for like 550. So we
Mhm.
provided transactional funding, which was ABC funding, essentially funding for 1, 2, or 3 days in extreme cases. So it was the really short duration bridge
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
We charged a couple of points. It was really good. And you could basically loan the money with almost no risk and play the arbitrage and get paid a couple of percentage points, 2 points for 3 days. That's pretty good return, right?
Yeah, that really is quite something.
So
Okay, let's go over there.
the uh,
Yeah.
the, the, the adventure continued through years from there. We started to find a lot of traditional fix and flip loans as some of these flips couldn't be done in a couple of days. So people had to hold these properties for 30 days, 45 days, um, 90 days. And um, the beauty about that, they could rehab them. So we
hmm
started giving them effectively fix and flip loans.
hmm
And that's essentially how we grew by funding a lot of fix and flip loans over the years, all the way until we start going into the commercial real estate. We realized making loans is a great investment in real estate. It's great income, could be conservative, could generate strong yield, but you're not building wealth per se.
hmm
So we went into equity investing, started to raise equity capital on multifamily storage. So we essentially launched a fund that was focused on diversified strategies in commercial real estate, um, specifically uh, equity play as well as debt, depending on what the opportunities look like.
All
So
right.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to shut up.
No. Actually, I was only going to say it's like you're making my job easy by making the conversation go along, so I can concentrate on what I'm going to do. Especially because like I varied from prep pretty quickly in this game, but I really love what you're sharing as far as a full 360 on how you got into the business, what the big determinants were as far as turning it into a career. Yeah, I will do that. Okay. Now, is there anything wrong with my calculations? Probably. But yeah, so we do have some similarity in our background. I'm obviously not from the former Soviet Union, but the ways where it's similar is the math and technical background. I studied electrical engineering in college, and the way that I got into real estate was from being in the CRM space. I worked for web.com, and then when I found out that there wasn't a whole lot of potential in continuing to work there, I started to help the different clients that they had, uh, and that was there was a lot more opportunity in that. I found, but as I got bigger and better clients, I tended to work for the different seven-figure and up earning online businesses. But once I started working for a guy who was flipping 10 houses a month like clockwork, I realized it's like, hey, I seem to be on the wrong side of the right business. So I made my jump. Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, just that's a great response, by the way.
Thanks.
That's a that's a great move. But I'm still
I
trying
mean,
to.
if you want the pawn, you can go ahead. It's, you're my guest.
I'm a little bit patient here. I am okay with taking a little time here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's, he's not going anywhere, right? He's
Yeah, we
he's
got two pawns on the target, and your rook is kind of in not an exactly happy place. So
yeah, yeah. That's exactly how I describe it as well.
you have a similar adventure. So you were web.com. It's kind of funny. Did you web.com was Jacksonville based, right? Did you by any chance?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. But it was up in Canada in their wing that focused on e-commerce platforms. Let's see.
Which part of Canada?
So that was Barrie, and which is north of Toronto.
Gotcha.
And yeah,
You're gonna laugh. I worked one of my last gigs in technology. I worked for Register.com, and they were eventually acquired by Web.com.
right.
And I ran a group, a whole bunch of people in Nova Scotia. We had in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia office, a gigantic office. It was a call center there, and yeah, so I had a little bit of a connection to Web.com. Not exactly the way you did, but I remember this nearshoring. It's a great folks in Canada.
Hmm.
What the observation was, some people outsourced to India, and
Hmm.
nearshoring was just as good as going offshoring for the U.S. companies. And we had a great team in Nova Scotia. I flew there many times, had risk management teams there, had testing, had number of other folks, and like really sharp teams. So that's my observation years ago. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it sure looks like that bishop move was a good one right there, a good response. It's because calculating it out here, it's there's not a good way out of this one. Ooh, and you also have that too.
well, it's yeah, it's you're gonna lose one pawn at least, right? I mean, it's just kind of you don't have a. I don't see any elegant solution here where you can
Yeah, I think I'll
navigate.
just protect my rook then.
Yeah, that's the right move. Is give me the choice of
Mhm.
which one to take.
Right. So about chess, though, some more. One thing I was just saying to my neighbor that I think I found the worst way to learn chess or to improve at chess to get decently good at chess. And my big thing is that I didn't really play humans except for my son until this year. And basically, part of it was, well, I didn't realize that chess is arithmetically a draw, right? If it's played perfectly well, both sides, it should end up in a draw in general. But the aspect that I wasn't comfortable about playing with other people was that it's a zero sum game. Somebody's going to lose, the other person's going to win, and so that I didn't want to ruin people's day. And so what I did is I played against a bunch of bots. Last year I did about 7,000 puzzles, and that's the part that I don't tend to share with guests when I'm prepping them for this. Okay, so now we're back in this sort of situation. Um, yeah, there's no nice solution for that at all, is there? Anyway, so
It's not
so
that bad. Yeah, you have a decent move. It's not.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's yeah. I don't think your next move after this one's going to be quite as devastating, except for yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you can reveal the fork right there. Oh, right. Yeah. Now that's my move, isn't it? Yeah. There it
Yeah, of
is.
course. That's the only move. You didn't have too many good moves. This is a decent move, and I'm just trying to figure out if I how far I want to push this, or just play a little more conservatively here.
Right, right. But as far as having a conversation while playing chess at the same time, do you have any experience doing this, or is this basically your first time?
Uh, I, childhood we played chess and we talked with other chess players years ago. I mean, I'm talking about childhood where you just basically talk trash a little bit, the chess trash, not the
Right.
dirty trash. Sometimes people talk, so I'm a little bit used to just discussing things while playing. So that's as far as I'll go on this front.
I hear you.
All right, we'll go this route. Not necessarily. I kind of hate this somewhat to the point where um, I'm doing this, but I'm hating it. Maybe it'll give you a really good opportunity.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, it's pinned, so there's that. And that's not going to fix it at all.
I'm going after pawns, which I generally don't like, but um,
All right. Well, and thanks for mentioning that in particular, because now I know that my a pawn should move.
well, don't give me the rook. That would be
That's
worse.
true.
So,
That'd be much worse. Yeah, that's right.
what I did like about this, I'm giving you an opportunity for activity. And essentially you can go through C2 and kind of put the rook somewhere in C7. I don't know what
Yeah,
you're gonna do, but at least it gives you a little breathing room per se to
right,
something.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that you know what? Actually, if I go, that's still not covered. I think I'm probably better off. I'll do that. I'm not happy with it, but whatever.
That's a little too conservative, but
Yeah, probably. Okay, so next let's try doing some sort of break of this pawn chain so I can get my knight out of that awful, awful square that it's on.
um, that's the right move. You're getting a little more active here. Um, Let me see.
And by the way, like all the prep I've done over the last week for this match, because I know I have to bring a better level of game. It's
You're playing
been
well. Forgive me. It's I don't know your rating, but I assume it was significantly lower, and I'm playing kind of at the very low range of my rating while you're probably pushing it up. So it's kind of I mean this with all due respect and admiration. I used to be 2400 plus, but it's been very, I've not played at that level for a long time.
Mhm.
So it's been a I've been stuck in this, 1950, 200, 2000 range for a long time, but in reality, I'm much stronger than that. For some strange reason, at least I feel that way.
Yeah, I'm confident that, especially on chess.com, you've got widespread bots populating it, and I think that that's a big problem as a whole. Like, there's also, there's a certain, prevalence of cheating, which is also a big problem.
But why
But
would people want to do that? I guess they want to feel better about their rating. But I'm just doing it for fun. To
right.
me, it means nothing, but I guess to somebody's prestige. Hey, I have a rating of whatever the number is.
Yeah, 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 I don't see why you'd want to play against humans and use computer assistants. Like that just seems kind of silly, especially when you know that the engines have us beat all day, every day, and it's not even a
But by
contest.
far, by
Yeah.
far, by far, by far. I remember, Gary Kasparov challenging Deep Thought many, many, many years ago, and the ever since that, the evolution has been just incredible. So today, the chess is a perfect problem for artificial intelligence or computer, essentially, computers playing this. It's just, I don't know how else to put it.
Mhm.
I don't call them bots. I'm just calling it computers because they're far, far superior to human because it's a finite problem in comparison to other parts of business and work where humans still have a chance. Now, in the age of fast AI progress, I worry about the movie.
The
I
Matrix?
like no, the Terminator.
Oh,
Oh,
Terminator, right, right.
yeah. So
Yeah, I read a paper back. Oh, this must have been at least a dozen years ago, and they were mentioning about how the difference between Western interpretation of the future of computers, AI, robots, all that kind of stuff, compared to the Japanese. And the Japanese, like, if you use, are you familiar with the cartoon Astro Boy? It was
fortunately, I'm not familiar with Japanese cartoons.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
but but
well,
but but talk through. It's fine. I'm happy to
sure. Sure.
understand.
So Astro Boy, it was also around in English out here, and it's just this robot that had like jets in his feet, and he'd like come save the day and all that kind of stuff. And so in Japanese culture, like that fear, it's just not there. And I mean like fear that robots will get out of control and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I hear you. I absolutely hear you, and I'm not familiar with Japanese culture. It's one culture I'm not really familiar with. But I respect it, and it's very possible that culturally they've always loved computers, automation, and to them it feels like no big deal at all. Um, so
Right. Yeah, so I guess at the end of the day, the bigger thing to be concerned of is bad programmers, right? It if you don't program people or you program the software to do things that will be harmful, then that's basically where it's going to go. Okay, so now I don't have that square anymore. Okay, so
I hear you, and I think there's a lot of benefits of AI. I mean, at this point, I have to tell you that our team and we run a real estate investment firm. Um, we do marketing. Our team uses AI, ChatGPT, and other related quite a bit. They clean up articles. I actually write articles, and the what I really find fascinating is
mhm,
that I still talk in my language, and then it gets meaningfully improved by the ChatGPT,
mhm,
and ultimately it looks more professional. It looks more. It has better English, but I'll tell you, it has one gigantic fallacy.
mhm,
It can be completely wrong if you ask it to research data. It
mhm.
doesn't really know how to do it well. We've seen it making conclusions that are completely wrong. Um, so I would not use AI yet for data research,
Mhm.
although it can find some interesting articles and some interesting thoughts, but it's not a good researcher per se because it can use the wrong data. And data, I think, on the ChatGPT is somewhat outdated. They're using it from a few years ago. So
Mhm.
anything that changed recently may be out of date significantly.
Right, right, and so like for me, I think that dovetails right into freedom of speech. and the importance of it. I think that's with your background from the USSR, and me, I'm up in Canada actually, and so like censorship is something that's a big topic right now, and the conversation that I have with many people on the subject is that the biggest reason why freedom of speech is so important is so that people can demonstrate that there are some things that they haven't learned yet, they haven't figured out yet, and that way I'm being nice and not saying that I'm accepting the fact that people can change their mind, people can understand that the world is not the way that they perceived it to be. Whereas some people would just be like, okay, well, if they say bad things, then they need to be, canceled or whatever. So that's one part. And then the other one is if somebody just refuses to accept facts, then they basically deserve to be ignored. So from that perspective, like freedom of speech is so important, and so as a result, I don't really see that big of a difference in having AIs that I've heard it called hallucinations. They hallucinate. They just make stuff up. Like people do that as well, but I think the cure to that particular issue has to be the fact that you need to educate yourself, and you need to educate your kids as far as how to discern fact from fiction, good information from bad information. Does that resonate with you at all? Any thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to dangerous territory. I want to avoid politics, but I grew up in the former Soviet Union, and of course, I very much remember that there was only one side of the story. It's the side of the story that was approved by the government, and you could call it propaganda, you can call it ideology, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but there was only one version of the truth. And my my middle school teacher taught me this. He said, uh, remember that the word history, why history can be rewritten. You hear this term, rewritten history. And there's a reason for this. The reason history gets rewritten is because it's his story.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever is telling the story, that's that person's story. So here we're seeing an extreme version of that right now, where the same facts could be looked at right now, today, exactly the same facts. You go on the left, you hear one story. You go on the right, you hear a drastically different story. And maybe that's the freedom of speech. Is back to your point that people need to have the right to express their views, and the fact that there is a debate and there is a difference of opinion of or perception of the same information. It needs to be there. I just hope we continue to do this in a civil manner without basically shutting up the other party or canceling the other party. So from that perspective, this is built into our democracy, into the United States. I tell the story. I'm a political refugee from the former USSR. I'm a U.S. citizen and a U.S. patriot. To me, U.S. patriot means looking at the Constitution and looking what founding fathers meant to for the way for it to work. And unfortunately, today there are different opinions, and you see. So news media has become propaganda machines, which is very disappointing, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And the facts are being twisted and turned to fit the story and that they need to. So people no longer looking for like in science, how do you do research? You look at data and you come up with a theory around the data. Today it's different. You come up with a theory first, and then you look for the data to fit the theory. How wonderful is that, right? So Um, so I'll say that it's something that we do all the time. I run real estate investment firm, and we try to look at facts and then figure out what these facts mean. When you make investment decisions, and anything you do, hopefully you could look at facts independently and try to understand what the facts are telling you about where the markets are going, where the opportunities are, And um, so it's a uh, the, the when I came to the country, the way things were looked at many years ago are very different from now. I'm almost shocked how we're seeing some of these ideas that are circulating today. They're not really beneficial for the country. They're more of they're more of uh, I almost want to believe that there's a grand conspiracy theory
Hmm.
that we're being undermined by China, which is, probably the significant truth that they want to destabilize the United States and they can't just destabilize it economically. That they're trying to destabilize it with some radical ideas and a few other things. Although um, you said chess is a finite game, right? Before, so chess is a very finite game. You win or lose, or there's a draw. And I believe that the world is not a zero-sum game. Chess is sort of a zero-sum game per se, right? I
Hmm.
believe the world is a world of abundance where China can be successful and we can be successful. And some of these crazy ideas don't need to drive our behavior and have political divisions. It benefits some folks. It's almost like, I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about where we're going. I followed Ray Dalio's. I don't know if you've read some of the stuff that Ray has put together,
Hmm.
the principles of navigating changing world order, and you start looking at the stuff and it gets a little concerning where things are
Hmm.
going. But I, I think the big difference between China and the U.S. and I know we're off the time. We're playing the game of chess and we're into politics. China is still communist and centrally planned country, and the U.S. is still a free economy. As long as we can maintain that edge, both politically and protection of property rights and laws, we can continue to stay as an economic leader of the world, maintaining reserve currency, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think the population, like the actual, like that. So Mandarin's my second language. Okay, I've even discussed the theory of relativity. I had to explain space-time
Mandarin?
dilation. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's
in
wonderful.
Mandarin.
That's interesting.
Right. So when you talk to the immigrants that are out there right now, I think it's vastly different from what you get when you're talking to someone who someone from America who lives in China. They are fully clear in their minds that they're going to go back to America eventually. And when you talk to Chinese immigrants who've come to Canada or the US, they are absolutely dead set at never moving back. It's they don't want to go back there, and so it's a really nasty situation in all sorts of different ways. Um,
Well, there's a reason for this, right? So
yeah,
there's a similarity when you have again, Soviet communism was a little different from Chinese communism, but
yeah,
the similarity is that you have a one-party system
yeah.
with the strong authoritarian rule. If you're not part of the system, you're outside of the system.
Hmm.
And those folks who are well within the system, they essentially choose to either comply with the system because it has worked so well for them, or the system will destroy them. It's kind of the best way to describe this is in the single party system. Um, there's a massive benefit to support the party because if you are a dissident or you try to rebel or try to express opinion against it, you can be destroyed completely. Your property could be taken. Um, so exactly what you said. Chinese immigrants here, they enjoy American freedoms, and then you rarely ever see people from here moving to China and kind of falling in love with that system.
Hmm.
There's a reason for this. Somehow the American way of life is a lot more attractive than the centrally planned dictatorship like. I mean, I'm a political refugee from the Soviet Union, and they can do whatever they want. if you're not a player of that system, you are a pawn. Sorry, game of chess. You are a pawn uh, in the game of grandmasters, and you don't really have a role other than you can often be sacrificed. So
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, since you mentioned the feeling of being a pawn, I should finish my thought from a short while ago, which was that I actually, for the last week in preparation for this match, I've been preparing for crazy like crazy with black, not white.
we
So
can
I
play
was
another game.
hoping,
I still have
yeah,
time.
yeah, I'm definitely up for a rematch.
We'll
I
do
know that
another
I'm,
game,
yeah,
and
I'm in
yeah,
all sorts of trouble here, but
it's a great attempt, but unfortunately,
yeah, you got
I have pretty
about
good
two
defensive
tempo
skills.
ahead.
I'm not going for it. It's just I have a I'm about to. I didn't even checkmate. I could have promoted with a checkmate. I mean, with a check, but it's
Yeah, 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 no
at
kidding.
this point we can go move to the next game. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Let's go ahead and do that. There you go. So next up, we'll hit rematch. Okay, but yeah, I'm really glad. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Now I'm black. So let's see if I fare any better where I'm better prepared.
By the way, your name is I mean, you go by your first and last name.
Yep, that's
Uh,
right.
it's kind of a funny. My name here on the chess.com is PTG 2000.
Mhm.
You could I'll let you guess. It's a hard guess. You probably will never guess what PTG stands for.
I don't know what it stands for.
And I grew up in the former Soviet Union, but I grew up really studying history a little bit, and then I really like Peter the Great. So Peter the Great
Uh,
was a great
oh,
star.
Peter the Great. Okay, cool. Yeah, I
He
like
was
that.
he was actually revolutionary for his days and time. He brought the culture. He brought the culture to the country when it was sort of in darkness. He brought ship construction. He brought teachers from the West to
Hmm.
educate the country that when it was essentially I don't want to call it dark ages, but a lot less of a lot less. So yeah, I know you be prepared for this. It's going to be interesting. You're probably going to do a whole lot better this game.
We'll see. Oh, thank God. I can do my King's Indian defense. All right. Woohoo! When you start with E4, it's not likely that you're able to actually get into it without massive disadvantages right from the start. But
Well, I'll play something that's you're probably going to laugh at this. This is not really strong, but I like it.
you're gonna do the Bond Cloud?
No, I'll do this.
Okay. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So, yeah, I'll finish development first. Okay. Yeah. So, we're going
It's
into a
going to get a
sandwich.
little spicy.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, we're yeah doing a sandwich.
yeah,
So,
some people love it. Um,
okay. So castle and queen side. Okay. So now I'm out of prep. Let's see. Um, but yeah, we covered real estate. So you're really generally in the funding side of the puzzle. I see that it says syndications there as well. What's your buy box as far as the syndications?
so today we do quite a bit of, we run effectively a couple of funds that are focused on income, and we do participate in debt, obviously. We also participate in income-focused equity. There's no simple box as a we just do this or that. It's been
Hmm.
changing over time. So I'll talk through a couple of things that we're doing today. It's sort of unique with times. We're recording this in October 2024. So of course, traditional value add multifamily, storage, industrial, open air shopping. We've done all those things. We continue to like it. And um, I don't really like it, but then I'm gonna have to uh I want us to do something I don't like, but it actually makes sense. So instead of getting ultra aggressive, I can be pretty conservative here and just win a pawn. And
Hmm.
as much as I've been told don't do this, sometimes I do it. I go for a simple pawn and change from an aggressive, let's attack each other on opposite sides, to let me just win a pawn, exchange some pieces, and keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, I honestly, it serves me right, trying to do trying to do a King's Indian as a reaction to an E4. It's not what it's for at all.
Well, yeah, I hear you. This is a little bit different than what I expected, but and I'm still gonna force a trade, whether you like it or not. Maybe.
It looks like it. It looks like the queens are coming off the board.
I remember watching Gary Kasparov versus Anatoly Karpov match in Moscow many, many years ago. We were playing, I mean, this was 1985, I think. We were
Hmm.
was on a chess trip, and it was a chess tournament in Moscow. I grew up in Moldova, Chisinau,
Hmm.
and our coach somehow got us tickets to the game. And my always thinking was Kasparov is such an exciting, fun player, always looking for complexity, for tactical opportunities. And Karpov still won the match. He should have. Well, the match didn't win. He basically they drew it when it was 5-3. But the moral to the story was you guys should do really well by trying to play positionally and just pick up one small advantage here or there.
Yeah,
And
that's what I found in the puzzles as well. Like they basically flat out tell you that if you're not trying to just pick up little pieces of cheap or free material, then you're just going to lose. So, yeah, it's
yeah, you could win by small gains rather than winning by a checkmate.
right.
And
And I
by
also think that
checkmate,
that's
teaches, of course, it's fun.
yeah, I also think that that's why, masters, like once you're, like up a full piece or something like that, they traditionally they just resign. And
It's brutal. I've played so many games, and once an opponent has enough edge, it's almost to the point where, like, sorry, I'm just gonna pick on this. If you put Gary Kasparov in front of me right now,
yeah,
um, and you put him in black pieces, I probably have a really good chance to beat him. So the edge of even a couple of pawns sometimes is just brutally big. You could put the best player in the world on the other side, and they still can't can defend.
right. And of course, you say that when
Well,
you're up
when
a few
he's
pawns.
not listening, then he would show up and crush me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
right.
would take
Yeah,
the challenge in this position for sure. I would take the challenge all day long.
yeah, yeah. I'll say. Yeah. Let's see
But
here.
back to real estate. So I'll tell you this, and I don't know whether your audience has done a lot of commercial deals, and but most of us know that certain sectors of commercial real estate has taken a beating as a result of the higher for longer interest rates.
Hmm.
So specifically, multifamily is one asset class. It's not fundamentally beaten up, but a lot of value add deals were financed with floating rate debt. And I don't know how familiar are you familiar with that whole
Oh yeah,
so if
yeah.
you're familiar, then you know what the current sort of need is. Many projects they need liquidity because they can't quite make it through um, without additional capital. The rates are higher, insurance premiums have gone up, and the consequence is that they're still pretty solid projects that have good amount of equity. I call them equity rich,
Hmm.
cash poor. So they bought the property right, they executed partial value add, but they've been raising rents, but they're not ready to sell, and the market is not really ideal time to sell today.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah, my whole crowd, they were begging for that rate cut from the Fed that for, ages, like 8 months, 10 months. It's really been
if
crazy,
that's your
but
crowd, they understand it too well. It is they've kept the rates too long. They raised them too fast and too furious,
yeah,
and they kept them higher for longer too long.
yeah,
And
I'd agree.
it's been absolutely uh, horrifying for the value add multifamily. So if you bought with fixed rate debt, stabilized assets a few years ago, you're okay. If you bought with floating rate debt, you started with a mortgage of, I don't know, all in rate 4.5, and you kind of wound up being overnight. Just as an example.
Hmm.
So in that type of a situation, um, you drain a lot of liquidity by paying much higher interest rate. So liquidity has been the biggest problem for cash needs. We've talked to number of folks through my podcast and number of just folks I know through the networks and folks we invest with, etc. And three-quarters of the problem today, the need for cash, is just basically dealing with the bank and paying the mortgage, setting aside interest reserves, setting aside other escrows the bank requires, even paying down some bank debt if you're not meeting debt service coverage ratio or other bank covenants. So liquidity has been difficult, and some people tried capital calls, and that hasn't really worked well to raise capital.
Right.
So it's been a challenge. Um, and we discovered a solution. It's not like we invented the wheel. It's just been kind of common sense. So I could tell you that trying to do capital call on a project that needs money will get pretty poor participation. What that means, it depends. But the industry average is about 30 to 35%. Maybe some projects you can get 70, 80%. Some other ones you can't get even 10%. So capital calls just don't work
Hmm.
in most of the deals. But what is the solution? If the property still has equity margin, in other words, you get two options. You fire sale the property, and if you still have some equity, you basically trying to get that money off the table while you can, right? Before the bank takes it. Think about it for a second.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I've been noticing. It's, like when it comes to people who are looking to enter the space, the thing that's been coming up again and again and again is just the fact that they basically the people there are plenty of deals that are underwater. And at least a lot of the buyers back, in the peak in 2022, 2021, somewhere around there, at least they realize that time in the game is what matters the most, and they're not selling at these vast discounts that a new buyer would have to likely deal with, especially, I mean, like if they're, typical down payment, loan to value, that sort of thing. So it's at least encouraging that they figured that out. And I know that that move that I did there, it's not very good, but it's
You wanted to
that.
take back? I'm good. I don't even know how to press the take back button, but
The yeah,
you're
like
gonna lose
honestly,
another
like this
point.
whole situation's really bad
Oh, yeah, I know.
already, and so like I don't think it really matters. Oh, at least you took though, because I was expecting you to fork the bishop and the rook with your knight. So this is at least playable, I think.
Well, I'll just take another pawn.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
The same
So
idea, one move later.
yeah, exactly. But at least it's got more going on than that. So that won't work. Yeah, this one's a disaster
So I'll
too.
give you the solution. The solution, as much as you can multitask, thinking about chess and the solution for those folks that have still a decent equity on the deal, they still have a good equity margin, and they just need liquidity and there's high confidence in their ability to execute, is to raise fresh capital in the form of either mezzanine debt or preferred equity. And we've been doing quite a bit of that. Because you asked me, what are we doing today? That's a bulk of what we do today. We are funding mezzanine debt on the projects that we still underwrite to be strong projects, great operators, equity rich, cash poor, where the cash comes in and does a few things. One, it sets aside interest reserves, interest escrows, or tax escrows, other insurance escrows required by the bank. Some cases even pays down the bank loan a little bit, depending on the negotiation with the bank. Also, it sets aside additional cash if needed for construction, if the property needs some more work, or construction draws us slow. And it also buys time. It provides essentially liquidity for the project to buy time. And following the theory that as interest rates fall, valuations improve, right, which is fundamentally correct, but it takes time. So it's not all linear. So what's likely going to happen, most people don't realize it, it might not move immediately. Even if Fed was cutting super fast, there's a delay, there's a drag. But if you look at a year and a half from now, maybe 2 years, it's pretty clear where the Fed is going. They made it very, very obvious that they're going to get down, even if they don't get to the entire target of 2.9% Fed funds rate, even if they get down half the way to that, they still get down meaningfully. And in that situation, you're likely in a pretty good shape from a valuation perspective. The cap rate should contract with falling interest rates, and then you'll be looking at a meaningfully better, even 0.5% change on a cap rate, 0.5%, it can improve valuations by 10% on a leveraged deal. It could improve equity by 30%. So it's back to the math, but the increasingly, by the way, the biggest problem to real estate was not the fact that the interest rates rose. It rose so fast after being so low. It's the change, the rate of change was the brutal factor.
Yeah, I agree. And I just realized that I'm also sharing my screen, so I should probably not pre-move in this conversation. But here we
Oh,
are.
you think I'm gonna take the bishop?
Yeah, that's what I'm expecting you to do here, because, well, at least that's what I'd probably do. But
Uh,
it's a disaster.
I'm not sure I want to do that. I like my net. I mean, I guess I could pin. So I don't know. It's an interesting thought. All right, theoretically, there is some merit that the bishop said should be stronger than the knight.
Yeah, it's but that knight has been stuck there the whole match, and this is just ugh.
Yeah, I know.
But
That's the
but
problem
the
with this position.
right, but one of the things
There's
that I
no
wanted
easy
to
way
mention.
out of this.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I know that this is definitely a losing position, but the other thing I wanted to mention though is one of the big novelties that have come out in chess over the last 15 years or so. I understand is I was saying about how masters they'll be down a piece and they'll resign, and that's been something that Magnus Carlsen has single-handedly changed. He won't just resign, even if he's got a drawn, like a losing position, or like he won't accept a draw when it's a drawn position because he's just so confident that he'll find something in the end game. Have you seen anything that supports that fact? Have you noticed that as well?
So I have to be brutally honest. I have not been a deep follower of Magnus. So
Mhm.
he is a world champ. He's been a brilliant one of the best players for so long. I am of the generation who loved Gary Kasparov, right? So I take what he's doing as a he's just bored. He needs a challenge, so he's going for it just because he's unique, and what he can do is not most players can't do that.
Yeah.
So okay, I'll take your bishop because you've been expecting that.
It definitely wasn't asking you to do it. It was just when I realized that I pre-moved and I'm sharing my screen. It's like, yeah, that's probably not wise.
Well, it's fine. I mean, you expected this. I'm going to respect that
Yeah.
there's some truth to that, of course.
Yeah.
So what you just described is a I've seen him play some absolutely crazy opening just to start, just because he's bored. He's just
Yeah.
so good that he'll do something completely extreme to destabilize the position and to get some variance or some different. But it's still I grew up respecting the position where you know you're beat, you're beat. You just shake the hand and say, great game, and just train not to be down a piece.
Right. Right. And well, of course, before I do that, I need to say it again though. Like, have you heard of the Bong Cloud opening? Do you know what the Bong Cloud opening is?
I probably do. I just don't like I don't recollect the name.
Okay. Well, it's the name actually is a big hint. And are you aware that a bong is a type of pipe for smoking marijuana?
I am not aware of that.
Right. Okay. So yeah, yes, that's a huge hint as far as why they call it the bong cloud because it is E4 and then King E2.
Huh?
Yes, that's why they call it the bong cloud. The joke is that, if you're going to be doing it, you've probably been smoking something. Because that's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea to put like block off your bishop, block off your queen, and make your king as vulnerable as possible. That's called the Bond Cloud opening. It's a new one, and the world's second best, who's American, Hikaru Nakamura. He's the progenitor of that particular
I'm
technique.
I'm too old for this. I left this joke. I get it, but it's the kids
Right.
who like to smoke pot to them. I grew up in a generation where maybe it was popular in America. I just never experienced it the way most of the American Canadians, other folks
Sure, sure. And I caught that
culturally.
based on
But
your
I get
level of
it
discomfort. Yeah.
when they are when you've had the good stuff to smoke and you're feeling good, you're gonna
Hmm.
play some crazy stuff.
Right, right, exactly. So maybe like I've been trying to get some guests to come back for rematches, and hopefully you'll accept that pawn as my gift. Uh, but yeah, maybe you can
Absolutely.
try
Thank you
a
for the kind
Bond
invitation.
Cloud. Yeah, I'm a generous guy. Like you already were up 3 pawns, so I figured, hey, I should probably like, give you another one.
There's the law of reciprocity. I don't know if you studied Robert Cialdini, and there's the laws of reciprocity, and they speak that I gotta give you something back because you were so kind and so gracious to have me have the pawn.
Well, if you really want to be generous, I can offer a draw.
I'll take it.
Sweet. All
Let's go.
right.
We're good. Yeah, I'll
There
accept
you
the draw.
go. All right. Well, that was absolutely amazing. I really, really enjoyed that. The computer said I made 0 blunders. So I don't know how it figures that. It says I made one mistake, but there you go. So thank you very much for joining me. I see that you're on your screen there. It says tempofunding.com. I imagine that's a good place. But we also we cross paths on LinkedIn, where I mentioned already that that's where I spend the majority of my social media time. So that's the best way to reach out, especially because I got this distinct last name. It makes me really easy to find. I also have these little attention symbols because if you search my name on Amazon, you'll see that I have a few different business skill building related books that I've written and are up there. But Mike, if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way?
So of course they can go to tempofunding.com. That's the corporate site. But I do have a podcast called Big Mike Fund Podcast, and you're coming as a guest on a podcast. I'm excited to have you on a podcast and get your journey and story recorded. So Big Mike Fund Podcast. So the website is bigmikefund.com. And if you misspell it, you didn't hear what I just said, and you just go to bigmikefund.com, I promise it's not a kinky site.
Right, exactly. There's enough of that on the internet. You can get it for free. But I just want to acknowledge the fact that I really appreciate that yes, you in the audience, that you joined us and spent your time with us. And if you want to do me a solid, you can hit the big ugly subscribe button that's down there so that those deadbeats at YouTube will actually start paying for these videos instead of me. I would love that. But thanks again. This has been great, Mike.
Thank you, Dan.